To recap, so far we talked about all of the primary and secondary controls on the bike. We talked about mounting and dismounting. In our last lesson, we talked about turning the bike on. We're going to put that into practice now. We're going to do all those steps, mount the bike, turn it on, and now we're going to find the friction zone, and we're going to practice that one, probably longer than you think you should. So, rinse and repeat what we've already talked about. We're going to mount the bike, get that balance point, kickstand up, key on, and we're going to turn the bike on. We're in neutral right now. This lever on your left side, right here, this is your clutch. Now, the friction zone's going to be different on every bike. This is where really getting familiar with your bike is important, because now that friction zone is going to lie somewhere in between fully engaged like this and fully disengaged. So somewhere in the middle is your friction zone. Now, you're only going to find that if you were in first gear. So let's put the bike in gear. So we're going to pull the clutch all the way in. Right now we're in neutral. So we're going to drop that shifter down. Now, you're not trying to be dainty with it. You can kick that thing down there. You're not going to break the bike by being forceful with that shifter. So just go ahead and smack it down. You're going to see that the neutral light goes away, and if you have a gear indicator, it's now going to show you in first gear. As I demonstrated in lesson 3, if you were to just drop the clutch, the bike's going to lurch forward, it's going to stall. And that's kind of a scary feeling if you've never done that before, but that's what we're trying to avoid. So we're going to turn the bike back on, fully engaged. I'm going to use as little meat as possible with my hand so I can show you where the lever's at. We're in a playroom right here, right there. You can almost hear the chirping of the engine. I'm going to shut up for a second so you can listen. That little bit of a chirp right there, that means you're in the friction zone. The bike's gonna lurch forward, and I'm kind of light on my feet right now, because now if I'm planted on the ground, got my feet, I am rock solid right here. If I were to lurch forward and my feet don't move, the bike's gonna take off without me, and I can lose balance. And this is a good way to get your feet caught up in like the pegs and stuff. So light on your feet, getting familiar with the weight of the bike. So you can sit on it. You can just sit on it and have a conversation with somebody for 30 minutes. But that's still practicing the balance, so that if the bike were to like teeter over a little bit, you know the point where you can't hold it anymore. So again, friction zone, finding that little zone right there, halfway in, right there. And as soon as you hear that, I'm going to pull the clutch back again. Now I've got my fingers on the brakes over here, because if for whatever reason I start like moving quite a bit, I can just pull that front brake and stop. So all of lesson 4 is going to be just friction zone, and you can spend as much time on here, I would say at least an hour or 2 hours, just get the repetitions in, just more than you think you need to. It's going to get kind of obnoxious, and you're going to get really good at it really quick. If you have a smaller CC bike, it's probably not going to pull as bad. The bigger CCs, the more that friction zone is going to want to pull you. But I'm not using any throttle here. All I'm doing is the friction zone. So here we go, and that's it. I'm using the front brake to stop, and I'm using the friction zone to just lurch forward just a couple of feet. Nothing crazy. I'm not riding the bike yet. I'm not traveling. I'm not picking my feet up yet. Just that friction zone. I'm going back and forth. Now, this back and forth thing, this is familiarity with your bike. You're going to do this a lot. And that's all that is. Friction zone, friction zone, friction zone. And I could be out here for 30 minutes just practicing that, and I can get really good at friction zone. Here's engaged, releasing, friction zone, and then I'll move a couple feet and then just pull that front brake to stop. If you do stall, if you come out a little fast and the bike stalls, don't freak out. That's normal. That just means that you came off of the clutch a little too fast, and this is an area of opportunity for you to slow down on your clutch release. So the bike stalled, you can always just pull the clutch, ignition, turn it back on, and then you're going to be in gear instead of neutral, and you can just start right back where you were. So clutch fully engaged, turn the bike on, and now I'm already in gear, ready to use that clutch, find that friction zone. So I'm going to turn the bike off using the engine shut-off switch, just like that. I can come off the clutch because the bike is off, and we're going to dismount the bike normally. So kickstand down, brake, pull the bike down onto the kickstand, make sure everything's locked and tight, swing my leg over, and I can walk away.